Hello, hello, and welcome to another board meeting recap. For this video, we will be recapping the August 15th board meeting. So thanks for joining. So we'll go starting here at our district webpage, hover over About Us, click on Board of Trustees, click on Board Docs, and we are here. So we will then click on Meetings, open up the 2023 menu, and there is our August 15th board meeting and the agenda and the link to the YouTube video from the board meeting in its entirety. So this agenda had quite a bit on it. We did not have any presentations or non-action items really, but we did have a good amount of business to conduct at the August 15th meeting. So we'll go through that with you today. The first kind of handful had kind of a similar feel to them. They were all sort of finance related. And the first one was an approval of a resolution to provide for the establishment of a special revenue fund entitled AB 519 New Owyhee Combined School. If you had heard previously about AB 519, whether from the news or from our school district, from previous board meetings, from county commission meetings, you may have heard that the legislative session produced a bill, AB 519, and part of that bill was to fund the construction of a new school in Owyhee. So this action item, to make a long story short, I guess, is kind of a step to prepare to receive those funds in order to be able to move forward with that project. So we created this fund so that all transactions in and out can all be very transparently reviewed, so that money can very clearly only be used for this one very specific purpose. And so that was approved, and we established this fund so that money could be more easily accounted for. 2.02 kind of went hand in hand with this one. In fact, the two items were combined and voted on at the same time. And so the other half of that 2.02 was to approve a new bank account with the Nevada State Bank specifically for this fund as well. So again, all of that was done to make sure that we can very transparently show how that money will be utilized in the next 3-ish years as we work towards the construction of that new school in Owyhee. So that was 2.01 and 2.02. 2.03 and 2.04 are also similar in nature, though they were not approved at the same time. So what you see here is it was a approval of a resolution to authorize an interfund loan to the E-rate fund from the general fund. So this is kind of a yearly thing that ends up happening when you have a budget of this size. It's pretty tough to budget exactly for every single category. And so what ends up happening usually kind of towards the end of the school year, the end of the fiscal year, and as you're kind of balancing that budget and making sure it all matches up for those purposes, you find that, well, we're going to need to loan money from one fund within our budget to another until other funds get transferred in, and then that'll all kind of even itself out. And so that is, again, it's a pretty regular thing that happens every year at various points throughout the year. So that is what this one is, 2.03. It was an interfund loan to the E-rate fund from the general fund, and then 2.04, the difference is this was to authorize an interfund transfer to the E-rate fund from the general fund. So both of those actions were approved to make sure that we are appropriately balanced out in that fund. 2.05 relates to our IT department. So every year we are, constantly trying to keep our technology infrastructure such that it can keep up with the needs of our schools and our students. and as technology advances, and it needs to be compatible with new devices that come into our schools. So anyway, all that to say, it's an ongoing basis, and so we had gone out to bid previously to receive to get network switches and data cabinets, and so I'm not going to go over the project in its entirety. That can be viewed here through this link to this PDF. But those bids were accepted for the network switches and the data cabinets in order to help continue to improve our IT infrastructure. The next item, 2.06, was approval of our 23-24 Elko County School District debt management policy. This is another yearly item we do. So to go along with our capital improvement plan that was covered a couple meetings previous to this one, there's also a debt management policy. The school district doesn't have any debt. We're one of the few school districts in the state that does not have any. And so there's an indebtedness report here, as well as the debt management policy, in its fullness. But these documents, along with the capital improvement plan, were presented as in addition to our school board of trustees, to the county debt management commission, and that was reviewed there as well. So both of those documents are here, and it's just a good way to help keep everyone aware of how we're doing from a financial standpoint. And as I mentioned, the school district doesn't have any outstanding debt right now, nor has it for quite some time. But anyway, it's still a regular action that happens even if there is no debt. So that was covered in 2.06. 2.07, kind of an exciting item for us. You may have heard recently how we are trying to make do some catch up in the world of safety improvements to our school campuses. And so this is a product we're excited to bring to our staff and our students. It's a product called Centegix. Now, a product and a project of this magnitude has some some requirements about how you go about deciding on who you're going to purchase with. So what we did is there are allowances within the law that if another school district or entity, a public entity, has done an RFP or request for proposal in order to get companies to show their interest in being the product that you purchase, then if that's been done in a semi-recent manner, then you can potentially, instead of having to go through that whole process yourself again, you can it's called a joinder contract, but I always just call it piggybacking. We're just piggybacking on the RFP that they did. And so Clark County they did this process back in August of 22, and then Washoe County actually also piggybacked on Clark after that. And so we're joining what Washoe and Clark are doing already with Centegix. And Centegix, essentially, as it describes here, is a mobile panic alert system for our staff. And it's something that our staff can carry with them. And so whether they need to draw the attention of site administration in a very timely manner because of some sort of crisis that's happening, or a medical emergency or anything like that, it kind of helps save precious moments in case of an emergency. And this also comes with the capability of notifying law enforcement in the case of a very severe emergency. And again, in crisis situations or in emergencies, sometimes a couple of extra minutes can be the difference between a problem turning into a massive problem or a tragedy. And so this is just one of the many ways we're trying to help keep our schools safe, help people feel a little more safe and secure in our buildings. And this will go as great hand in hand with our school violence prevention project that we're also working on at this time. So that was an exciting joinder contract to get approved, and we are moving forward with Centegix. And pretty immediately after that was approved, we started taking next steps to get the infrastructure in our building so we can have that product in place sometime middle of our first semester. So that was approved, and we appreciate the board both approving that and committing some of our funds to help make our schools safer places to be. 2.08 was a ratification of a memorandum of understanding with Community and Schools Full Service Community Schools Grant. So this Full Service Community Schools grant it's actually quite a big collaboration between about 10 different entities, and it includes Elko County School District, Humboldt County School District, Clark County School District, Boys and Girls Clubs from all of those areas, as well as some other entities. And a lot more information can be read in this MOU, but it's essentially a really great partnership between school districts and community partners to help provide some needed additional resources for schools where, maybe there are some students who are a little less fortunate than others and may require some additional services in order to be able to meet their needs as a school and as a community. And so that MOU was approved, it was ratified, and we're crossing our fingers, hoping that grant is awarded to our 3 districts and to those other partners that are collaborating with us, so we can bring some very needed resources to our students and their families in those communities. 2.09 and 2.10 are both policies that were reviewed for first reading back at the meeting on August 1st. And as a reminder, IDFA is an update to a previously existing policy that to reflect changes in NIAA requirements and policy that have some of those changes are very, very recent, but others date all the way back to close to about 10 years ago or so. And these are changes, again, that we have been practicing but had never been reflected in policy. And so we're just making sure that's updated so that our practice and our policy mirror each other. And that policy was approved. And then the other one, IDFB, similar concept, only this is a new policy as it refers to general eligibility to be able to participate in NIAA activities. And that was the 10 action items. 2.11, also in this category, was another set of quarterly updates. The first one came from Mr. Cody Krenka, who is our Human Resources Department Director, and Cody gave the board an update on a few things, but the main highlights were the efforts we're going through as far as what we do for hiring and recruiting, and how we're trying to do our best there to make sure our schools were fully staffed, and kind of what the different scenarios were as we got close to the school year starting. And then the other main topic there was an update on where we are with negotiating with our bargaining units and kind of what the progress is there and what our timelines are, just so the board understands what those processes are. After Mr. Krenka spoke, Dr. Higby, who is our director of the Special Services Department, he gave an update on the many ways the Special Services Department is making itself both more robust, as well as shoring up some areas and where we can do a better job of making sure we are very compliant with state and federal requirements, and making sure that we are doing the very best we can to accurately meet every student's individualized education plan, as well as go about processing all that documentation in the most correct manner, and do a great job making sure we're filling everyone's needs there as it relates to special education. After 2.11, it was just normal finish to our board meeting with consent agenda, superintendent's report, board member reports, a review of the accounts payable, and thank you very much for tuning in and following along with our board meetings and having an interest in